Thanks for inviting us in. It's now 6 o'clock and we begin tonight with a major spike in the number of kids who may have been victims of crimes in Hancock County.
Today, our Marina Silva went to a place that's called Zoe's Place to look at what they do there and also to learn what caused a nearly 100% increase in reports in just 1 year.
Inside what looks like a home on State Street in Greenfield is actually a place to make children feel comfortable during what could be a very vulnerable time.
So when you come in here, it's very homey, it's very comfortable so that the child feels, we're just trying to provide an environment where the child feels comfortable.
Katie Molinder is the executive director. She is one of the many people on what is called the multidisciplinary team.
So law enforcement, DCS, prosecutor, Zoe's Place. We also have mental health and medical representatives on our multidisciplinary team. We all get together and we facilitate one interview. Our job here at Zoe's Place is to actually facilitate that interview.
In 2024, the center received 197 referrals. Prosecutor Brent Eaton says when these interviews are happening, they're trying to figure out what is going on in the child's life.
Is there criminal involvement? Is there something where maybe it's short of criminal, but there needs to be an intervention to see that the parents have the tools that they need so that it does not become a criminal situation. And so we all try to cohesively work together.
So while 197 is a 90% increase,
I would say that, that the substantial increase has in part to do with us just doing a better job of communicating, a better job of investigating, and a better job of working together.
Molinder and Eaton say while they are working to bring justice for the children who were abused, they're also working to prevent it in the future. Reporting in Greenfield, Marina Silva, 13 News.
An Indianapolis man was just convicted of murder in connection with a shooting on the city's far east side back in 2023.
That trial lasted just 2 days before the jurors then returned that guilty verdict. Rodriguez Morgan shot and killed Tracy Harmon inside a car near 30th Street between Midhofer and German Church Roads back in October of 2023.
Police found Morgan passed out in the driver's seat of the car. A witness told investigators he heard the two arguing before the shooting. Sentencing is now scheduled for March 10th.
A suspect is now in custody for causing a fiery, deadly crash in Plainfield that killed a little baby girl and badly burned her older 3-year-old brother.
Our Rich Nye has been learning more about the suspect and also talked with the man who helped rescue that boy from that burning SUV. Rich?
And that witness tells me what he witnessed was just too difficult to talk about on camera. Also, more tonight from the mother who lost her 2-month-old daughter.
Avon police say this car refused to stop and slammed into this SUV Wednesday morning at the intersection of US 40 and Ronald Reagan Parkway. A witness, Tony from Columbus, says Shadow Moore was able to get out of the SUV on his own, but his 2-month-old daughter, Iris, died in the fiery crash. His 3-year-old son, Aries, was rescued from the burning SUV by a police officer and Tony, who says the car seat and boy's clothes were on fire. Aries suffered burns over 60% of his body. The grieving mother was not with the family in the crash.
I can't even process all of it, and I honestly can't even bring myself to look at any photos of my kids because it's so hard.
Jack Votter's fiancée, Shadow, is out of the hospital with broken ribs, a minor spinal fracture, a laceration on his spleen, and burns to his hands.
Plainfield police have not identified the suspect, but arrested a man for auto theft on Wednesday, and that may explain how this incident started. And that man likely now faces more serious charges.
And your heart just goes out to this poor family.
Yes, so much loss.
Yep.
Thank you, Rich.
And a long recovery ahead.
That's for sure.
Sounds like it.
Well, family and friends right now are gathering to remember the 18-year-old woman who was killed on the east side of Indy 1 year ago today.
That group hosting a balloon release, and this happened less than an hour ago, and they did it in memory of Lachelle Hewlett. Someone shot and killed Lachelle outside of her family's apartment, and police say they still don't know who that shooter is.
Lachelle's mom said her daughter got into a fight, and that's when a woman pulled up in a car, jumped out, fired shots, and then took off.
We're going to hear more from that family tonight here on 13 News at 11. In the meantime, it's 6:04 on this Thursday night, and we've had gray, but look, the sun finally peeked through.
I know. It was really a nice end to this day, wasn't it, Angela?
Yes, had we had the sunshine earlier, we would have been 45 to 50 like they were a little farther south, but not the case for us today. The sun is making an appearance just a little too late in the day for us to warm up. We're in the 30s now, 37 Greensburg and in Brown County. Great sunset over Crawfordsville, 34. Bunker Hill looks great as well, currently 36 degrees. We will stay in the 30s over the next several hours as skies continue to clear. Heading to school, nothing weather-wise to slow you down. Remember, this morning we had fog and we had wet roads. It'll be dry, but it'll be cold. Grab that heavy coat. Early morning temperatures in the upper 20s and low 30s. From there, a mix of sun and clouds for our Friday afternoon. Upper 30s nearing 40 for highs on Friday, and the day will be dry until we get into Friday night. Our next weather system approaching from the southwest. Friday night, 11 o'clock, chance for a little bit of light wintry mix. Think drizzle or some pockets of freezing drizzle. The steady rain gets here on Saturday. I'll have that timeline in a few minutes.
All right, we'll see you in a little bit, Angela. Thanks. We've certainly heard a lot about diversity, equity, and inclusion during this legislative session.
First with an executive order from the governor, and now with a bill that's underway in the Senate. Our 13 News State House reporter Emily Longnecker is here to tell us where that bill stands now, what's in it, and also shows us what lawmakers are saying about it. Emily, that's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. Listen, you guys, and it was a long debate, a 3-hour debate that just wrapped up, and Senate Bill 289 was passed by the Senate of a vote from 34 to 13, by a vote of 34 to 13. Now, the bill's author says the intent is transparency and to make sure no one is being discriminated against. Lawmakers against the bill said it would chill speech in schools about history and hurt efforts to make sure everyone is on an even playing field. Now, Senate Bill 289 requires schools to publish on their website any training for employees or curriculum that deals with discrimination, diversity, equity, inclusion, race, ethnicity, sex, and bias. The bill also defines DEI, saying it's any effort to, quote, manipulate or otherwise influence the composition of employees with reference to race, sex, color, or ethnicity, which does not include ensuring colorblind and race-neutral hiring to align with federal anti-discrimination laws. The bill also defines DEI as promoting, quote, differential treatment or providing, quote, special benefits to individuals on the basis of race, sex, color, or ethnicity. Here's what the bill's author said about his idea behind it.
Diversity, but those words, to me, but it twists those words, rather, to mean something I believe is bad for this country: discrimination. The DEI worldview is trying to convince Americans that discrimination can actually be a good thing, so long as it's the right kind of discrimination. I respectfully but wholeheartedly disagree with that thinking. I think it pits people against each other, and it causes people to lose trust.
Where are people being
Senator Hunley,
held to believe that they should be blamed for actions of the past?
do you not agree with those concepts that's in the bill?
Yes, absolutely.
you do?
I'm just trying to figure out that if we're going to take our time to pass a law, that we're trying to solve a problem that actually exists, and I'm not convinced yet that it exists because I haven't seen any data that it does, and you haven't produced any data that it does. And so, of course, I believe that this is problematic. I believe a lot of things are problematic, but we don't write it into Indiana code, and so I'm wondering why this is such a problem that it requires us to use the precious time and resources that we have here in this body with the limited time that we have as a part-time legislature to dedicate time and effort and energy of not just us, but also our staffs. So I'm wondering where this is happening, because if this is a problem, I want to help solve it.
I keep hearing you say that this bill is about ending discrimination, but who is actually being discriminated against?
Again, this bill is to give equal opportunity and stop discrimination. That's what the bill is about.
Okay, so you're saying stop discrimination, but who is being discriminated against?
We haven't agreed on how to have this conversation yet, because we haven't agreed on the common usage of these terms. And how would I read here? It is not my understanding of these terms either. Words that I thought I had a relatively good grasp of understanding before I walked into this discussion today. I now feel as though my common vernacular will no longer be applicable as these terms will be used in this piece of language. What that means in terms of the bill application, I'm uncertain. But there is one thing I do know, is that the general public will not understand what we've done here today by passing this language. And that bothers me because I remember.
So you see quite a debate there, and there was a moment that came at the end that delayed the vote on this. Democratic Senate Minority Leader Shelley Yoder and Democratic Senator Andrea Hunley getting up right before the vote and asking that the Lieutenant Governor, who is the president of the Senate, Michael Beckwith, that he be removed as chair before this vote, pointing out, and they held up their phones, pointing out a tweet that they said that he had put out on X, a post that he had put out on X, also on his campaign website. And we looked a little bit at that post, and part of it, what it said was, Hoosier Revolution, Indiana just torpedoed woke indoctrination. The Indiana Senate just dropped the hammer on the radical DEI racket with SB 289, and the left is losing it. No more taxpayer-funded race hustling. So that was some of the tweet, and Senator Yoder, Senator Hunley standing up, demanding that the president of the Senate, Micah Beckwith, be removed. Ultimately, that didn't happen. Senators had to take a vote. They voted for that not to happen, but that caused quite a bit of debate. Some senators standing up and saying that the lieutenant governor, the president of the Senate, has a right to free speech. Senator Greg Taylor standing up and saying, yes, he does have a right to free speech, but just because you can say something doesn't mean that you should in the moment. So you can see this was a very contentious session today, a very sensitive topic. Ultimately, though, SB 289 moving over to the House. Ann, Scott.
All right, Emily Longnecker reporting live for us with the developments from the Indiana State House. Thank you. We have the latest news from Lilly today. Some good news for that company when we come back.